High-grade Gundam Age-FX. Hey, what's up again, everybody? It's Robert184, 2Rs2Bs, Gundam Reviews.net, and from the unbox to the parts to the complete mobile suit, you've seen it all for this high-grade Gundam Age-FX. And now, let me just give you some final thoughts on the good and the bad and the ugly about this, so that you can make your own call whether you want to add this kit to your selection, and of course, join the conversation down below. Now, when Kyo's getting preachy, it's really easy to remember some of the negatives about this kit, so let's kick things off with that, starting with the fact that it's just not going to come with any beam sabers, and you'd think that this won't be a huge issue considering that the HGH kits, you've probably got about 2 times 27 of these by the time this guy's come around. Nonetheless, the fact that even though it's got all these holes that you can attach these C funnels into, and that these are pretty standard across the line, they do not fit in the forums, which is disappointing, and that they didn't include them, or a special one that is going to fit with the same C funnel mount. Nonetheless, they could have just made them interchangeable, and did not. Probably one of the other big issues, though, is that I think a few people will have is just taking a look at the C plate here, the C panel plate here. It's not actually the C plate, it's the D plate. Nonetheless, when you get this, you're going to get these 14 C funnels. That's great, but there's 2 other clear parts that are desperately should be in clear green. And so you would think because they can do it with the advanced grade for less than half the price. Nonetheless, the all-important Age A on the front, and the fact that you can see, you're not going to see it anyway on the cockpit of the core fighter as it plugs into the chest there at Crossbone X1 style, not to mention G Gundam. It just should have been done, you'd think. Nonetheless, if you've got some green paint kicking around, it's an easy $2 fix as long as you've got a brush or a Q-tip, or you just want to dip it fondue style. Another issue, though, along the same lines, as I've already mentioned this a couple times, is that you don't have the black here dividing the blue and the white on the shoulders. The advanced grade has it built in that he's going to have some gray there, and the fact that, again, something that's less than half the price is going to have more color wraps than a high grade, it just seems wrong. Another issue that you're going to have is things falling off left, right, and center with that. When you've got 14 C funnels, to be expected, but nonetheless, the skirts here are not as strong as I thought. They have a rather unique mount mechanism for these side skirts. Love the way they look, don't like the way they operate on occasion. Also, an ugly face that may be more of the mobile suit's fault as opposed to the high grades. Nonetheless, just the fact that it's got these inconsistencies here as it comes around, where you've got the parts that are going to be well cut chiseled, and you're going to have the other parts that are not so much. It just leads to a very inconsistent look there. Not all that bad, but compared to some of the other classic Gundams that we've seen with better faces, this one's not up there at the top for me. In terms of that clear ring on the back, well, it's certainly going to make him dynamic, and it's hard to find things to complain about, but nonetheless, it would have been cool if they had given you the option of having it half and half. Probably one of my favorite displays is just having 4 to 6 or 4 to 7 over here on one side. You can keep the other 7 C funnels on his body kind of thing, and so then it doesn't look like he's naked the way he sort of looks here compared to what you could be doing. But instead, you're always going to have that whole half sitting out there with none of the C funnels in there. Would have been cool. You can always go and cut that yourself, though, if you want to go deal with that, and just figure out a way to jimmy it back on. Speaking of the stand, it also would have been nice if there was a separate core fighter area to attach it to. We've seen it with the Age 3 normal, so things like that can be done. They just chose not to do it for this one. Also, it's got more holes for the burst, so the biggest complaint that I'm going to have about this is that it's not interchangeable with the C funnels from the advanced grades. Bandai's whole idea with the advanced grades was to get kids in at reasonable prices buying Gundams, and the fact that this came with a whole plate of clear green, even for the Age symbol on the chest, how cool would it have been to say, hey kids, you can have 14 from here, but you can have 14 more if you buy the high grade, and then you can have 28 and you can keep all 14 on the body, all 14 on the ring. It just would have been a very cool way to bring these together, and they could have added in extra seals on the high grade to jazz up the advanced grade. Anyway, you can see a lot of crossover possibilities. Nonetheless, if you want to add more, well, buying more high grades is going to be the only option, even though it would seem, upon quick inspection, that the AG has a better clear green plate. Oh, and one other thing, bazooka, big bazooka, yeah, you can guess, it's pretty heavy. Now, with 4 minutes of negatives preceding this, you might think that I don't like this kit, but actually nothing could be further from the truth, because for every negative, there's 2 or 3 positives. So just starting with the legs, put them together, they're fantastic. The way these ankles move, gray thrusters hidden under those cool blue calves, gray inner frame, these knee mechanisms. I don't know if I've seen a better one in recent memory there. Love the way the back skirt there works with the white and the gray, and you've got those cool looking side and front skirts. Everything's in the right places. The purple and the blue goes together really, really well with the chest, and the way they ingeniously blended in the yellow. I suppose that I should mention that the advanced grade again has some gray there on the neck, but nonetheless, everything about this upper body is looking great, except for that little bit of black that's missing, but that's easy to remedy with just a $2 black Gundam marker, lining marker, Sharpie, whatever you want to put on there, just do it before you assemble it, and you're not going to have any issues. The head itself, I think it is really unique, the way they apply the camera lenses there. The thin yellow part and the fact that they go to the trouble of giving you the blue and the purple, as long as you don't lose it when you're putting it all together, still tons of fun. The core fighter, I didn't expect it to be as much fun, but that simple plug-and-play mechanism, certainly a lot more fun than the way that the Impulse or things do it, this old-school way, and the fact that you've got two moving points there, with the gray part at the back, and then you've got the thrusters that can move up and down, and I haven't been using it when I've been doing the poses, but you can do all sorts of dynamic poses there, and you can also add in 4 C funnels there, small ones, large ones, point them in different directions, and it looks like he's going at variable speeds, or whatever you want to do with it, they give you the options. And speaking of options, I think that's the most important thing about this, because if you take a look at it, I complained that beams aren't going to work in the forums, but just stick a C funnel in there, put in a small one, put in large ones, do whatever you want. You can mix and match these. The fact that he's got all these holes here, instead of thinking, well, it's unfortunate that there's not more C funnels there to go into them, you can just think of it that you can do whatever you want with them in terms of switching up the large ones and the small ones, and the same thing there with 14 on the back. You could just fill this up with small ones and have the big ones on the body, vice versa, anything that you want to do. The sky is practically the limit here because of the fact that the ring gives you tons of options. It can move up and down, no weight issues in terms of the base, the way it works there. And then even if you're going to skip the base altogether, the ground poses for this guy, with the way that the legs are going to move and the hips are going to move, is fantastic. Throw in the fact that you've got a decent beam rifle there, it's going to look as good as any other one, I'd say. Not a big fan, I suppose, of those small little parts that pop forward. Nonetheless, you've got it there. It looks better than the advanced grade, and the round circle part certainly adds something to it. The bazooka with the 3 large parts there that you add top and bottom is just going to add to it. It does work well when you keep the arm straight and have it going in one direction. It's going to collapse pretty much any other time. But if you think about a good beam rifle, a pretty decent bazooka, and not to mention C-funnels that can go anywhere on the body and anywhere on the included action plastic base there, really, and all these bonuses too, like the fact that you've got extra manipulators there, so you can have the dynamic hand pose there, which is saying EK Fangs incorrectly there. You can also have the weapon holding ones and the fist for either side, all very suitable for Kyo, and it's for a guy who doesn't really want to fight, this thing is definitely made to fight, and I can't wait to see it on the shelf next to the other age kits, and I think you might enjoy it there as well. So with all that being said, and yes, there are purple seals to go on the C-funnels, it's not all plastic, and blah blah blah, nonetheless, no need for you to be in the dark as to the verdict that I want to give this kit. It is fantastic, and the age kits have really been well put together, I'd say, and this one has to be one of the best just in terms of the posability and the play options and just the looks. Even if you dump the C-funnels altogether, I think this is a solid looking kit, a nice homage, and a new modern design all at the same time. That whole glowing green plate back there, it's pure win, and again, there's really nothing that you can't do with this. You're only going to be limited by your imagination, and if you wanted to add multiple copies and or some modifications to the ring on the back or anything else and grow these out and burst mode it, I think the sky is the limit. So what about the future speculation? Well, I don't think we have to speculate too much that there's going to be a master grade of this coming. We've already got 3 for the H1, 2 for the H2 as of filming here. H3 you'd think would be along the way. I wonder though if they're just going to go straight from the H3 normal, skip over the double bullet, and then just go straight to the Age-FX. So Orbital and Fortress, hopefully it's all going to happen. Hopefully they're all going to happen. Even the full armor H1. Nonetheless, this is the kind of thing that's fantastic in AG, fantastic in HG, and is just begging for a good 1/100th to be made. You'd wonder if they'd go with another 1/48th with the H3 not seemingly to be popular enough, or perhaps the H2 wasn't popular enough to sell that. So 1/48th, possible I suppose, but you'd think they'd do it while the anime was airing, and that's going to be not the case very shortly. Perfect grades, well I suppose we can all dream, but there's a lot more classic guys waiting for it in between. Nonetheless, these are all just my opinions in here, so why don't you let me know what you think of the video, the verdict, the kit itself, and how about Kyo and the way it's used in the anime. Anyway, everybody, thanks a lot for your patience. Stick around for lots more news, reviews, and everything else you can use. See you next time. Bye. Ah, jeez. Don't tell me all of you guys are going to be fighting me in the series finale.